Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to Touching You Talk Show. This is Elder Sheila Black, and I have another very special guest. I have Councilman Chris Nettles. How are you today, sir?
Blessed and doing good on this Monday evening.
I am so glad you are here. So, first of all, I want to ask, how long have we known each other? I always ask my guests that.
So I think it's been a little bit over 12 years when we first met at Day Spring Family Church.
Yes, and it has been a blessing to see all the things that the Lord God has, how He has blessed your life. He has blessed your ministry. And now you are a leader in Fort Worth. And I am so grateful that you are here. So let me read your bio. It says Pastor Chris Nettles is a lifelong resident of Fort Worth and believes in devoting his time to his family, business, and community. He and his wife, Shakia Nettles, are the proud parents of 4 children: Jalen, Christopher Jr., Caleb, and the princess, Christiana Nettles. Chris is a proud graduate of North Crowley High School, class of 2006, where he was the president of his junior class and president of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes program. Following his graduation, Chris studied Christian ministries at DBU. Since 2014, Chris has owned his and operated his daycare center, Haven of Purpose Children's Center, which provides care, education, nutritious meals, mentorship, and so much more to the children of working families in Fort Worth. Chris's business is run alongside of his ministry, where he has served as the senior pastor and played an active role in the community for the past 11 years. More recently, Pastor Chris expanded his after school program to providing after school care and hot meals for students of Everman ISD and the surrounding churches and apartment complexes. From 2013 to 2020, Chris worked as an administrative court clerk and assistant court manager to the Justice of the Peace for Tarrant County Precinct 8. This profession has allowed him to be a role model and mentor to the young men and women that came through the court system. So you have been a busy man, right?
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Just a
And as the church folks say, I'm not tired yet.
Well, I am so glad you are not tired yet. So, what made you decide that public office was for you? What led you to do this?
I tell you, and I tell the same story every time that I'm asked this question, and because it's just the honest, holistic truth. I did work for an elected official prior to this, and then I did some election stuff when I was in high school. But when I really put my foot and my head in the race in 2017 was when I ran for mayor. I ran for mayor in 2017. In 2016, in December, we had a situation that happened with a family in Fort Worth where an officer threw down a mother and her 2 daughters in Fort Worth. And so I have always been about a person that don't complain about the situation. How can you be a part of the solution? And so I got to studying and looking at things where it was very broad to me that the city of Fort Worth, the mayor and city council oversee the police department, the fire department. When there's issues that comes up, they are the buck's supposed to stop at the council level. And so when we had a community meeting, the mayor and some city council people came out, and basically the mayor said, "This is just y'all complaining." She used a foul language inside of the church location and said, "This is just a complaining session." And I said, "I tell you what," I said, we need a new leader in Fort Worth." And they said, "Nobody has ever ran against her since she's won." I said, "Well, I'll run, sign me up, because I want to be a part of the solution, not the problem." And so that is how I got into this local game here. And I ran a few times before I won in 21. And so I learned a lot about policies and procedures and how things can get done in Fort Worth.
So I just heard you say you ran a couple of times. So that means that you did not give up. You did not accept defeat. You made a decision that you wanted to be the solution and you wasn't going to let anything stop you from that.
Yeah, I mean, it's always said that this is not a race, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And so I understand that, and it's important that we stay engaged and stay a part of it. And so, and when I got to figuring out all the synopsis of what happened, especially in the area that I was born and raised in on the South Side and Morningside, Morningside. And so I began to look at it. I said, well, we have seen a lot of things happen on the west side of Fort Worth, Texas, and nothing's happening on the east side. And that's because of our leadership. That's because we're taking our dollars and we're taking it somewhere else. And so I just kept on until I was successful. And I think that, and we'll talk about that later, but I think that we have to be more engaged as a community of why local elections and this position I sit in is so important and it's so powerful, and it can really change someone's life.
So what you're saying is that we can go back to that biblical principle, the people perish for a lack of knowledge, because we just don't research. And I can say that I'm guilty myself of just our local leaders, like city council people. We don't research and try to figure out what they are all about. We just complain when things don't happen the way we want. So let's talk about some of the things that you're working on in Fort Worth. Just tell me a little bit about some of the things that you're working on in Fort Worth.
So we just approved our budget last week, but some of the things that we're working on in our city council district number 8 is we're working on to build up historical South Side, bring it back to life. Evans and Rosedale, really Evans in particular, used to be, as they used to call, the Black Wall Street. You had Dr. Brooks's office there. You had a lot of businesses that was up and down Evans from Rosedale to Berry Street. And over the years, decades now, it is nothing. There's no development. There's not any business. We have maybe 1 or 2 restaurants there that really can see more life and more support. And so when I got in office, I think about 30 or 60 days later, I moved forward with the Evans and Rosedale project. And what that is going to do is that's going to bring over 400 homes, apartments. And it's going to be mixed. So you're going to have low income as well as high income. And on the bottom level, you're going to have shopping where you can, storefronts where you can, small business owners can have their businesses in Fort Worth. And then it's going to bring a grocery store. 76104 is the lowest life expectancy in the nation. I mean, so 76104, like people that live in that zip code do not live longer than other people. And I can give a list of all kind of areas in Houston and San Antonio, even in Dallas. How in the world is Fort Worth the lowest life expectancy? And we're one of the fastest cities that are growing at a high pace. And we have over 900,000 people, and we're going to hit 1 million in the next few years. It's not called for. And so we have to do something about it. And it's taken our leadership at this council approach. And so one of the ways we can get a grocery store, doctor offices, amenities like drugstores, like Walgreens, we have to have income coming to our neighborhoods, and we have to have rooftops. So where rooftops is, that's where businesses like to go. And so since I've been in office, I have approved over 1,000 rooftops to be built in district number 8 so that we can get those rooftops here in Fort Worth.
Wow, that is amazing. So that just blows me away, just thinking about the lowest life expectancy is in your area. And people don't realize how important it is. Just something as simple as a good grocery store that's needed in an area. So I just appreciate what you're doing there. Another thing I know about you is that you don't bite your tongue. So when you see a situation, it doesn't matter whether it's the police, it doesn't matter who it is, but you speak up for those who can't speak up for themselves. So what drives you? What drives you to be so outspoken? What drives you to just stand up, and it doesn't matter what people think, you're going to say what's right? What drives you?
So this has been my life. I remember as a kid, there was a couple of situations that happened to me, and my aunt said, "Hey, if you're gonna stand up for something, stand up for it. If you believe in it, and it's the truth, and it's the right thing to do, then you go all in and go all out." and I have lived my life doing that. And so if I believe in something or change or things that can happen, I'm going head first in, and I'm gonna go all the way through, even if I stand alone. And so, and one of the things that people, when I knocked on doors, uh, they just want an advocate. They want somebody that will speak. I can't change the city of Fort Worth. Me alone, one person, I can't do it. But I can speak for people that want to see that type of change. And if I'm strong enough, then I could galvanize my other elected officials to see and feel how I feel, how we feel as a district. And so it's just been in my heart. It's been something that's been embedded in me since I was a young child. And so I want to make sure that the record shows that I ran on certain issues, and you see me fighting for those exact same issues. I tell people all the time at city council. Um, I said, I think a couple of weeks ago, I used to go to city council. I used to speak against the council. I know what that feels like. I know how it feels to be on the opposite side. Even one meeting, I got escorted out by the deputies because they didn't like what I was saying. And so I understand that. And so just because I'm in this seat does not mean I have changed who I am. I just fight a little differently. And so my fight is still there, but it's for the people.
So what else? Can you just encourage the people of Fort Worth and anywhere that's listening how important it is the next set of races where we need to vote? Can you just tell us how important it is that we need to vote?
Yeah. With the climate being what it is today, that we have so many people who are far right and far left that there's no way that we can come to some type of common ground. This is so important. This election cycle, the midterms election, really deals with you as a person every single day. So you're voting for your governor, who's closer to you than Washington. You're voting for your judges, who, at some point you got criminal judges, you have divorce judges, you have family law judges, and some people may not ever see these people, but a lot of our community, Black community, brown community, and even Caucasian community, you're gonna see one of these people one day, or if it's not you, your family member. And so your state rep, who is fighting for you at the state legislature every single day, it's so important. Because I tell you, as in COVID, when COVID happened, what COVID did, a number of things. There was a lot of relief money that came. It came from Washington, but Washington didn't send other Black money. Washington sent the money to the governor's mansion. The governor mansion sent it down to the county and the city, and the city and the county started doing grants where you can apply for them. So it's important that you vote for your local people. Those are the ones that's going to determine where these COVID money went, how it's spent, what is it spent on, the ARPA dollars, and all those kind of things. That's why the midterm election is so important. Secondly, is that when we had the crisis and there was a debate on whether or not we should close the schools, whether or not we should close the churches or stay home or close down the city, what the president did is he put that power in the local control. And so you had Tarrant County judge come out and say, hey, we're going to shut down the county for X amount of days. Well, everybody has to stay at home and work from home. If we don't have the right people in this office, we are going to be head over heels. Right now in the Tarrant County, for Tarrant County judge, because he's retired, is two candidates. One candidate is an African American young lady, and the other candidate is a Caucasian man. One of the candidates, which he wants to lower taxes. Well, the way he wants to lower taxes is by closing down JPS Hospital. He have said it on the record. If he shuts down the only county hospital, JPS County Hospital, a lot of people lose health care. A lot of people lose the right to go to the hospital. Secondly, JPS is the number one trauma unit in the county. It is the number one trauma unit. So if you get in a car accident, they're not taking you to Harris. They're not taking you to Baylor. They're taking you to JPS because JPS is going to be the one that save your life. You get shot, they're going to take you to JPS. We take our police officers there. We take our firemen. That's where you go. If you close the number one trauma unit in the county, we're going to be up a creek without a paddle. This election matters, and we cannot have the wrong person in office making these decisions for us.
So how do we research and figure out what everyone stands for?
Well, you go on their website, and that the best voter is an educated voter. And so you go on their website, and then social media. You follow those, and like this today, this is gonna be on my page. It's on your page, and people can go back and review. Well, Chris stood for this. He stood against that, and that's how you be educated. And their platform normally is on their websites, and so I just encourage everybody to um, go and find out information. And then if um, you can ask local electeds, what certain people stand for, and some will tell, some won't. And so I just have to be educated.
That sounds good. That sounds good. Now, I do see we have some viewers out here. So if you have any questions for Chris Nettles, please feel free to type those in. What other important things you want to tell us, just in general? What's on your heart?
Well, I want people to get more civically involved. And so when we talked about the election cycle, when I ran for mayor, 30,000 people came out and voted. 30,000. We have over 900,000 people that live in the city of Fort Worth, and less than 5% came out to vote.
Wow.
It's crazy. And we cannot actively change the directory of this city if we're not involved. And what's wrong with some of us is that we don't get involved until it hits our front door or until it hits our family and our neighborhood. And so here recently, I started a gun violence tour where I'm going around to the high schools and middle schools talking to them about gun violence, because some people don't take gun violence seriously again until it's their nephew, their son, and then when that happens, they're screaming and they're going, how can I get help? Well, be a part of the process before we get there. And so when we go into these schools, I take in the funeral home so they can talk to them about the mothers and the fathers that come in there having to bury their kids. I take in our Stop the Violence groups that we have in our community to talk real truth to these people. Let them know that people with guns kill people. And
Right.
so that's what my heart is. I'm working with education. I had a meeting with the Sid Richardson Foundation today, talking about after school program, talking about how we educate our kids or our parents. And one of the things that one of the guys that didn't know, I said, when I was in school, we got a report card, a paper report card, had to take it home to our parents. Parents have to sign it and bring it back, and that was part of a grade. They don't do those no more. Those report cards are electronic, and if you don't log into the system, if you don't sign on, then you just don't know what kind of grades they're getting. Mm-hmm. And frankly, our teachers are not paid enough to be mamas, to be daddies, to be aunties, and go over and beyond their efforts of trying to teach them in class when they have to deal with behavior issues, and the list goes on and on. It's about getting back to the basics. And if we're going to fix and I know I'm saying a whole lot, but if we're going to fix our education, because the parents have to be more involved, and they got a part that they have to do too, but we have to figure out a system. And it has to be the city of Fort Worth, the school boards, public school, charter schools. Everyone has to come to the table and say, listen, we have to make sure that if we're going to be a stronger city, we have to be a smarter city.
I love that. I love that. So let's transition and talk about your church. You are a pastor of a great church, Purpose Driven Ministries. How long have your church been in existence?
For 12 years. We started in 2010 in September.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's in Fort Worth as well?
Yes, it's in Fort Worth. It's actually in the district that I represent. And I tell people, listen, I live here, I work here, I church in my district. I am devoted. Anytime you call me, I'm somewhere probably in the district. And so it's so important. Community outreach, and the church goes a long way. I was a part of the late Dr. Gregory W. Spencer's church at Church of Philadelphia when I was a young boy. We started the First Timothy Court, where we was armor bearers, and we just presented and took care of the pastor and other leaders at the church. Um, then I fellowship with Sweet Home Church of God in Christ with under Elder Michael G. I was his youth pastor there, and I served there until coming to Dayspring, where then the Lord released me the opportunity to pastor this great church here in Fort Worth. And so this has been my life ministry. I started preaching when I was 8 years old, and it's just the bread and butter. I tell people I would not be who I am today or where I am if it had not been for the church, because the church keeps me grounded. And every morning, every Sunday morning, you have to get up in that pulpit and you have to preach to people, but you got to have life experiences, to understand, what these people are feeling. And so, if it had not been for the church, I wouldn't be here today.
That is amazing. So you also have a daycare. Let's talk about the daycare.
So we opened the daycare, and this is always a funny story. And I do a lot of things off experience. And so we had a child, and then we had our second son, and my wife was working at a children's courtyard. And so we said, well, we'll just let the kids go to work with you and get a discount. Well, their discount wasn't a discount. And so then we had another child. And so we had to figure this thing out. And I said, well, I worked for the YMCA. I told you this funny story. I worked for the YMCA, and I was a camp director for the summer, as well as I was the director at one of the sites. And so I knew about childcare, and my wife had went to school for childcare. And so she had a certificate or a degree or whatever it was. And I said, I think it's going to be best that we open up our own childcare, because we're going to keep having these kids. We have 4. We need to be able to pay for childcare, and it's nothing like free childcare. And so we opened up our own childcare, and it's been going since then.
Wow. I do see we have a question here from one of our viewers. Lakeisha is asking, do you have an education advisory board?
No, we don't. And I think we can do that, because one of the things we have the privilege of doing at the city council level is developing initiatives. And initiatives is what's in my heart and what's in the community's heart. And so one of the things that we want to do is do an education advisory board. And the second thing, we want to do a community leadership pastors board, or just community leaders, so that we can come to the table every quarter, every other month, figuring out what is the process of moving things forward. Because I can say one thing at city council, but if I don't have other people that's been my sounding board of speaking and going in the community and helping us out, then we're not moving forward. So I appreciate that. That's something that I will look into.
All right. So we talked about your daycare. Your bio talked about how you have an after school program. Talk about the after school program.
So the after school program has truly been a blessing to the community, to me holistically, and all our workers. And so in 2018, I want to say, we expanded our child care to encompass after school care. Well, the daycare already have its after school portion, but we wanted to give other people an opportunity to participate in the things that we have here, the thing that we was offering. And so I reached out to Everman ISD and asked them, I said, well, can we feed your after school program? We want to be a blessing to y'all after school program. And they said, well, we don't have an after school program. And I said, okay, well, do you want an after school program? And they said, yes, but how much is it going to cost? I said, it's going to be free for the parents. They pay not one dime. And we do it within 2 hours limit. So when they get out of school, they come to the cafeteria. We do that school program. We feed them a hot meal. So I'm talking about an entree, vegetable, fruit, and milk and juice. And so we help them with their homework. But the second thing that we always do is we teach them a life skill. And so we want you to put a belt around your waist, buckle up your pants, tie your shoes. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. Use manners and things that are going to help you in a long term. So not just doing your work with, and kind of helping with your social reaction to how you respond and be responsible and tell them the truth, being honest. Just a lot of life skills that sometimes that in school we can't learn because we got to teach them mathematics and English and arts and science and history, and the list goes on and on. We want to be that bridge to say, before you go home, we want to, and we'll do it in a minute. Even when the parents come in, I don't care who their parents is, and the parents might say something. Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's yes, ma'am. Oh, we don't do that in our house. We do it here, and so we're gonna do it here. We need to do it everywhere we can. And so those are some things that we have the ability to do in Everman ISD. We have 18 sites currently. We're in every school in Everman. We have, I think now, 4 to 5 apartment complexes, and we do it at 2 churches.
So is your after school program a 501c3?
Yes, so the after school program falls under our church. So the Purpose Driven Ministry. So this is actually uh, a branch of the church. And so the daycare is a sole proprietorship. So it's a single entity, but the after school program falls under the church.
Okay, so people can actually donate towards the
Yes.
the church, and then those funds can be allocated to the after school program.
Right. So we have a separate account for the after school program. And so they can be able to donate to Purpose Driven after school. And that will go directly to, and that was one of the meetings I had today, is about how we can expand our reach. And so one of the things that every business deals with these days is retention. And retention is about how much you can pay your employees, how much you can increase their ability to want to be there, and that has to come from private dollars. We get state dollars, and that helps a lot with just the minimum. So making sure we can pay a salary, making sure that we can feed the kids. But private dollars that you're talking about, and donations and grants, that allows us to maybe take a person who can help a kid, pay them $16 or $18 and maybe $20 an hour for 2 hours each day to come in, so that we don't just have people that's just there and just trying to make a small check, but we're actually investing in these kids. And so this year we're launching a campaign where we can raise $100,000 to assist with what we're trying to do in this after school program, because the reality is these kids need it. This climate is so bad. The killing and the shooting and the broken homes, it's not getting any better. And so we want to be a part of the process.
All right. Well, and we will definitely leave that information so that folks can sow into that particular outreach. So let's talk about Thanksgiving food drive. I know you're associated with Day Spring Family Church.
Yes.
And every year we have our annual food drive. So are you one of the location sites where you distribute the food for the food drive?
Yes, we are, and we really appreciate the leadership of my bishop, your bishop, bishop and pastor, being involved in the community, the civic duty, and the food drives. And I tell you, I have been, when we go and pick up the food, the lines are down Beltline, and so we serve as a sub location here in Fort Worth, that we receive the donations from the Day Spring Family Church, and a lot of times we try to add more to it, and we bring it back to our church in our area, and we hand out as many as we can hand out to support the community. When you do that, it gives you an opportunity to have a conversation that you wouldn't normally have with an individual who probably everybody's not gonna come into the church house,
right?
And that is just the truth and honest, especially with COVID being, and everybody's able to do like we're doing right now. It's hard to get people back into the morning worship and Wednesday night Bible study. And so when you do these outreaches, we have opportunity to speak to them. And a lot of who have trickled back into the church and come to the church because of this opportunity that we get. And so it's great. It's coming up again. We're in October. And so I'm excited about the holiday season and Thanksgiving, where we have opportunity to be thankful.
Right. Okay. Lakeisha has another question. She's keeping us busy tonight. Do you think that it would be possible for Fort Worth to develop its own educator training program? Oh, she's giving you all kinds of ideas tonight.
Right. And I think, listen, she's really setting herself up for a job. To be a
I believe she
liaison.
is.
Yeah, to be a
I
liaison.
really believe she is.
Yeah, and I think, and I tell people, when I ran for this office, I talked about education, and I still talk about education. And some people have said, "Well, education is not what you do, sir. You need to fix the potholes and lights." And I said, "Well, let me explain something to you. Everything in District 8 is my business, and everything in Fort Worth is my business." When I took the oath, when I became the councilperson, I told them, I said, "I don't care what district you live in. If you got a problem, call my office, and I'm going to help get to a solution. We got to work with your council member if you're not in my district, but too many times we have had people sit on these seats and not do anything. And I don't want to be that person. The old saying is that I want to leave it better than I got it. And the only way we do that is that we be a part of this process. And so Lakeisha, I met with Sid Richardson Foundation today, and we talked about education. And he wants to work with me and other leaders. And so we are actively working on doing that. And so we'll make sure that you get a part of, be a part of that, because it's important. Simple education. How's it working? How grades been admonished? How they've been put out? And it's simple. Actually, tonight I was at the meet and greet for the school, the charter school that's coming to District 8 that got approved, that we went to Austin to talk about. And so that's why I was here at the Chamblee Library. And so I'm all about education. I don't care how you get it. I need to make sure you get it.
So is this the first charter school in the area?
No, we have several. We have actually we have the number one charter school, which is IDEA. Uh, it's off of Alta Mesa. IDEA Edgecliff is one of the number one schools here in Fort Worth, and they're doing a phenomenal job. And so this is going to be a performing arts, visual performance arts school. And so it's going to be creative. It's going to be innovative. I mean, it's going to give kids, out of the box thinking module. And so I was excited when I first heard about it. And one thing about me is that if I support something, I don't support it behind closed doors. I support it publicly. I put my name on it. I'm running alongside with anyone that's going to run with it.
So how can we volunteer? What kind of volunteers do you need right now?
Well, so we're going into the election cycle, and it's more about volunteers, about knocking on doors and educating. We're going to be working with Braver together, developing what people in historical Southside wants to see on the Evans block. And those are going to be volunteer opportunities where we can knock on doors and say, hey, we know this is a blighted community. We know that money has not been spent here. Money is getting ready to flow to this area. But what do we want to see? Because one of the things we don't want to is move out our people that's been born and live there. And they throw out that gentrification loosely. And so it's my goal to make sure that we beautify this area for our seniors and our Black community that have lived there, not that we tax them out of their homes. And so it's going to be important to hear what they want to see there. And so those are some things that we got lined up. And on October the 20th, I believe it's a Thursday, I'll be doing my State of the District 8 address, where we will talk about what I have, the things that I have done since I've been in office and what is to come moving forward. And we will have our different groups that's going to be there that's going to present about violence. We're going to have all of our city staff there talking about the water and the streets, the infrastructure. I mean, it's going to be a phenomenal day. It's going to be at 6 o'clock to 7:30. And so if anybody's watching and want to participate, that we'll also get. And so we also have the Southside Community Garden where they take volunteers, where because we in the 76104 zip code, and we have less access to getting to grocery stores and produce, is that community garden actually takes a box and put it in your backyard and fill it with dirt and with vegetables and whatever you want to grow. And they teach you how to grow your own vegetables in your backyard. And so we're doing a lot of things here in District 8.
Oh, that is amazing. That is amazing. All right, so we are running out of time. Any last words for our viewers?
First of all, thank you, Elder Black, you for allowing me to come on. I think this type of conversations helps get the word out of what we're doing, and we need all social media, everyone who's doing something to help us be the bridge. Because a lot of times you get downtown, you get so inundated with so much work and being able to articulate the conversation to the community sometimes gets rough and hard. But when we have people like you, your group, and allowing us to come on and share what the message is, we appreciate you. And so again, I just want to encourage everybody. Early voting starts on October the 24th. You know, vote all the way down the ticket. As you get closer to the bottom of the ticket, those are the people who's going to really affect your life every single day. So that's where you really want to make sure that you vote. It's going to be a long ballot. I'm talking it's from about 3 or 4 pages, but go all the way down the ballot and vote for each and every candidate that you can. That is the food for thought. That is the word. And come January, the mayor and city council will be up for re-election January through May. And so get civically involved. Churches get involved. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was great, great preacher, but he knew that he couldn't just do it in the church house, but he had to come on the street and encourage. And so I've been telling our pastors that we have the ability to determine who our elected officials are. We got to get it back in the church where the church believes and loves and cherishes their pastor, and their pastor encourage them and show them who is the right person for their job, or have an open dialogue. We might disagree, but at least we have open dialogue. We can at least be educated to go and vote. So those are my thoughts.
Well, I certainly appreciate you taking this time out, and I appreciate all of you who are watching. And for those of you who are watching on demand, if you have a question, go ahead and post it, and I'll make sure that Chris Nettles gets it and that he'll answer your question. We'll get your question answered. And then we will put information in the chat regarding how you can volunteer. And I'm looking forward to when you run again. Guess what? I want to be in the number. I don't live in Fort Worth, but guess what? I would love to help and come out and volunteer and do what I can to get you reelected.
Thank you so much. We'll need all the help that we can get.
All right. Well, this has been Touching You Talk Show. I am Elder Sheila Black with Councilman Chris Nettles. Have a great day, everyone.